come along.
Welcome to Behind the Purple Door and Flip Through Friday, your monthly podcast episode where I take you along and we flip through an actual vintage knitting magazine. I'm going to pick out 3 of the beautiful designs in here and we're going to have a closer look at those. I'm going to knit one of those designs and I'm going to dig deeper into the construction of this garment. I'm going to give you a little bit of historical background so we can actually put it into context what we're seeing here. And at the end, I'm going to give you a minute or two where you just flip through the magazine and we can enjoy the beauty of it. So let's set the scene. We're going to talk about this beautiful magazine. Ausgaben Wolle number 31, which was published in the mid to late 1950s. Germany has just gotten out of World War II, which ended 1945. The country was still recovering and families were barely getting by in the late 1940s. The 1950s are usually associated with the German Wirtschaftswunder, where living conditions improved rapidly and families weren't only just getting by, but they could finally afford more than the essentials. And this is precisely when this magazine comes out. Women wanted more than just a garment. They wanted elegant, beautiful, tailored garments that actually fit their body. And my grandma just told me, even though this magazine was kind of affordable for the time back then, it was still hard to come by because there weren't many publications. And if there were any, they were mainly distributed in the cities. So if you were living in the countryside, you had to figure out a way to the city to get one of those magazines, which makes this even more special that I was able to get my hands on one. So let's finally have a look at the designs. So we're going to start with page number 2 and this beautiful twin set. I have a picture up here for you, and we're going to have a closer look at the details. So we have this blouse, which is not necessarily shaped with ribbing, but actually tailored with darts. And in modern patterns, we usually have, when we're knitting top down, we have a certain amount of decreasing, and then we go into the ribbing. But that is not the way vintage garments like this were created. We don't have ribbing, and yet it is tailored. And that is happening while, yes, they're using side increases and decreases, they're also using darts. And they're using decreases to get to your actual anatomical waist, and then they're increasing again because that is just the way your body is built. And that is really, really beautiful and special about these garments, because almost all of them have bust and waist darts. And we're seeing kind of a comeback of bust darts in modern garments, but I haven't really seen waist darts around that much. And they actually create the volume your bust needs so the garment can sit like a beautiful tailored one. What's also really special about this for me is this beautiful color, both in the cardigan and in the top. This color work just looks really, really stunning and crisp in comparison to the somewhat floofy yarn that was used for the body of the garment. We also don't have ribbing around the arm opening. We have what seems to be a garter edge in a contrast color. I find this really, really elegant, and having the cardigan on top just makes it really, really beautiful, especially with the colorwork just around the top part of the collar. So that is something that would definitely end in my queue. Number 2 is this beautiful blouse, which kind of has an haute couture feeling, if you ask me. This is unfortunately not knit, it's crochet, and nothing against crochet, I'm just not really good at crochet, and I would love to have this blouse. And look at these gloves. There's actually also a pattern for the gloves in there, and it just looks really, really beautiful. We have these detailed buttons at the side and this magnificent color that is standing up, probably because they're using a somewhat tight gauge and a stiffer yarn that gives the color the kind of hold and strength it needs to stand up on itself. Last but not least, we're moving into my favorite garment. It's from the back of the magazine, and I mean, I would have loved to knit all of those 3 cardigans, and I'm not saying they're not all maybe potentially ending in my queue, but I'm knitting this beautiful one. And they're all beautiful summer garments that would be amazing to have right now, but the red one just really caught my eye. Apparently I have a thing for a nice color. So the way this is constructed, and this goes for all of these vintage knitting patterns in this magazine, you can see this huge sheet here that looks like a vintage sewing sheet, and that's kind of what it is. all of these garments are special in the way that they are constructed, like a sewing pattern would have been. So what you have to do is you have this section which tells you all the pieces that you need to knit and where to find them on the map. And then if you go into the map, you then look for these parts and you have to draw them up. This will look something like this. So if we're having a closer look, you can see the drawing on here has the bust dart and the waist dart. The waist dart is kind of it's not right in the middle, it's more in the center of your body. So it is supposed to end just below your bust. And it is shaped by decreasing a certain amount of stitches just along that point until you reach your natural waist. And once you reach your natural waist, you're going to increase the same amount of stitches or slightly more depending on the design. Then you have a few rows of stockinette and then you will shape the bust dart. In this case, the bust dart is shaped by casting off multiple stitches and then picking them back up. And as you can see in my knitted part 1 of the front, that doesn't really look too neat. I'm getting better on the outside of the garment, but I wonder if it would have been actually neater to use short row shaping to create this so you don't have to pick up the stitches. And I might just try that on the other side. Once you've knit the front and the back, they're constructed pretty similarly, just the back doesn't have bust darts because you don't have bust in the back. Then you knit the somewhat short sleeves and then you will knit the collar. You will knit everything separately and then you will seam it together. And you know, one thing I actually love about the vintage knitting, people often are put off by the difficulty of the pattern, but if you stood the construction and how to translate it once, you know how to do it all the time. I've actually made a video where I show you my method of translating vintage knitting patterns if you ever want to try your hands at one. But what I really find so fascinating, it took me a day or two to knit this piece, and it's like a dopamine kick. I mean, I know I have to knit another front, I have to knit the sleeves and the back, but I still finished already one piece in just a few days. So that actually, you know, is kind of a winner for me. I always feel like I'm dying on body or sleeve island when I knit things in the round. So this is a nice change of pace. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of content. If you did, please like and subscribe. I will see you again next month with the next magazine. And we're going to look through one that is really, really rare. And I'm so lucky to have a chance to buy it. It's from 1947-48, but it's from the western part of Germany, where things are really different in the way fashion was perceived at that time. And it's a magazine that's called Der Neue Schnitt, and here is a little preview for what we're looking at. And that was designed for the middle to upper class, where we're talking French haute couture influences and American sportswear influences just after Dior launched the new look. So I will leave you with the magazine for the last minute or two of the episode, and I will see you again with the next one. Bye! And one last story before we finish. The publisher behind this magazine has a fascinating history. Otto Bayer founded the publishing house in Leipzig in the late 19th century, and over the decades it became one of Germany's most important publishers for knitting, sewing, and fashion magazines. After the Second World War, everything changed. In 1946, the publishing house was expropriated in what became East Germany, and its assets were taken over by the newly founded Verlag für die Frau. Arndt Bayer, Otto Bayer's son, sadly passed away that same year. But the family story didn't end there. His daughter, Ursula Bayer, and her husband, the publisher Johannes Schwabe, founded a new Bayer publishing house in Wiesbaden in West Germany in the 1940s. From there, they continued publishing knitting and sewing magazines, preserving the Bayer name despite German division. And this is the magazine we will have a look at next month. Come along. Tea in the cup, the pages turn.